We know as educators that children only learn when they're ready to learn. We need to make sure that we're putting the right things in place with their transition so that they feel happy, they feel safe, and they feel open to that learning. Only at that point can we really begin to expect academic progress. Both things are intertwined, and we need to make sure that we're preparing our teams, our teachers as well as our teaching assistants, to be in a place where they can notice and observe our children and put the right things in place for them to get them ready for their learning. We're really spending a lot of time training our staff to notice the social and emotional needs of our children. And at our school, we've created an approach called SLOW. The S stands for stop, and we're encouraging our teachers and TAs to use mindfulness activities to help the children slow right down, slow their thinking down, and just stop and notice how they feel. So a really good example of a breathing exercise that we use is the 5-finger breathing or the finger breathing, where you encourage the child to take their hand and spread it out. And they breathe in as they run a finger up one finger and breathe out as they run it down the next. Breathing in and breathing out. And they go backward and forward 3 or 4 times, really focusing on their breath. And what we found is that just slows them down, slows their thinking down, slows their breathing down, and allows them time to just start to think inwards and to be more aware of how they're feeling in that moment. The L stands for listen. Getting them to listen to themselves. What are they feeling at the moment? What are they thinking at the moment? But also to listen to their peers and to their teachers as well. It's really important to be able to take on board other people's experiences. The O is about opening up. It's about encouraging our children to speak about what their experiences may have been, to be able to speak about how they're feeling at this moment in time. And then the W in SLOW is about working together and teaching those collaborative and communication skills to our children so that they work in teams or work as a class and build those relationships that are key to helping them feel settled and safe in school. As we know as practitioners, relationships are everything, and going back into school with new children, new classes, new teachers, time needs to be taken to build those relationships. Now, some children aren't going to be able to respond as well as others to our SLOW approach because it's very cognitive. Some children won't be able to articulate their feelings or even to recognise them. So it's also part of our training to prepare our staff to recognise the signs in children. So to think about body language and to also think about behaviours. So body language that we're thinking of looking for is things like a tight jaw or raised shoulders. Children may be behaving in certain ways, comes into the behaviour side of things. So you might notice that a child is particularly extrovert or particularly introverted. Now, from our transition meetings, our teachers have had lots of opportunity to talk about the children in the class. So although they've got new children in their classes, they will know if there's any changes in behaviours, they'll be able to go to prior teachers and have those conversations. So recognising changes in behaviours, recognising body language to just see if a child is maybe feeling unsafe or maybe having feelings of anxiety. As I say, body language is as important as the cognitive side of things. Now, we use something called an emotions wheel. This is a wheel that's packed full of vocabulary that we can use to help unpick feelings. The centre of the wheel is really basic feelings that a child might say. They might say, I feel sad or I feel bad. And then as you work your way out along the wheel, the words become a little bit more clarifying the children's behaviours and the children's feelings. And you can use those words to help unpick how a child is feeling. We also use something called emotion coaching in our school, and this is another way that we can help prepare our teachers to work with children and to work through their emotions. Emotion coaching works really well in a situation where a child may be feeling scared, may be feeling angry. So there's a few easy steps that a teacher would be able to do. The first is to acknowledge the feeling that a child might have. And that's just about having that conversation where you're just saying to the child, I can see you're feeling upset, or I can see you're angry, or what I'm seeing is this. And you start to empathise with the child and may even use an example from your own past where you say, actually, I was really upset this morning because such and such happened. And that helps the child to understand that it's not unusual, that they're not wrong to feel a certain way. The next step of emotion coaching is to validate that feeling and to name it. And again, we use the emotion wheel to help label the emotion. And it's just about giving a term that the child will be able to internalise. Next, and once the child has started to self-regulate and started to calm down, if it's appropriate to set some limits and to just talk about what is right behaviour, what is behaviour that is not appropriate in a classroom situation. And then lastly, it's about problem solving. So working with the child to think, what could I do next time? And the type of things that you might come up with are things like a timeout card, which might have a picture of something that will help the child to relax and feel calm, but also indicates to the adults that are working with the child, actually, things are starting to bubble up inside. I need a little bit of time out. Also, problem solving part of the problem solving is thinking about designing a safe space with the child, not assuming that this particular part of the classroom or the beanbag in the reading area is the place that the child needs to feel calm, but actually working together with the child to find a place that's right. Designing or coming up with a safe adult or a safe group of adults that the child knows is going to be there for them and understands that actually I'm going through a bit of a difficult time at the moment and there's certain things that I need and I know this adult's there to help me. We also use protective behaviours in our school, and again, helping your teachers understand how to put protective behaviours in place before an event is really helpful to the child. So it's really thinking, if we can predict that this child is going to feel a certain way, then we can help prevent it, or we can help put support in place and tools in place. And again, it's things like designing a safe place, having safe adults, maybe making sure that there's language that the child can use. And there's lots of great resources on the internet around protective behaviours, lots of principles that you can use with your children to just work through their feelings and help them to understand where they are.